What's up, goofballs? Welcome to OpinionATE. I'm Coogs. Today we're going to be talking about a few different things. We've got a few what would you do's, 2 about breakups, 1 about grief, and then we're going to get into a conversation about self-isolation and agoraphobia and stuff. And as long as we have time, we're going to start with 2 of our new segments. One's called What's Poppin', which will just be pop culture and things happening around the world. And then at the end we're going to start putting a segment called Manifestation Stations. So, just because I'm still borrowing my sister's camera and stuff and I still don't have the equipment to film and edit with, I'm not sure how much we're going to be able to fit into this video. So if you have any questions about anything we talk about, please feel free to send a message or leave a comment. If you have any advice, dilemmas, predicaments, etc. that you want us to open a conversation about for the What Would You Do segment, or if you have any topics for our What's Poppin' segment you want us to open a conversation about, feel free to send a message or a voice note over to my Instagram. I'll pop it up on the screen and hopefully we can incorporate it in one of the upcoming videos. But for now, let's dive into these What Would You Do, starting with the breakups. Also, just excuse how I look. I could not be bothered with anything other than lip balm today, so sorry. Alright, let's get into this first What Would You Do. This one was actually sent in via a live stream. If you don't know me from TikTok, I do short little check-ins all throughout the day and night to see how our homie slices all around the world are doing. But they're just little live streams for people to come check in, have a yap, distract themselves. Sometimes we play games. I tell people not to gift or tap the screen. It's just a place for people to come and have a yap if they want to come have a yap or distract themselves. But, ooh, the clouds just went over the sun. Nice. Okay, so this first one just says, will I ever forget my ex in our 5-year relationship? It's been 6 months and it's still all I can think about. What would you do? Now, the short answer to that is no, but the feelings you have surrounding it are not always going to feel as heavy as they do. When you've spent 5 years with someone, it's inevitable that you're going to remember those 5 years and the person you were with, but you're not always going to have such heavy, overwhelming feelings surrounding it. Once you're able to rewire your brain, especially if you're able to rewire your brain into a place of gratitude for the things you did have rather than focusing on the things that you no longer have or you feel like you've lost, you're able to start processing things and move forward with your life without it feeling so heavy and overwhelming. And when I say overwhelming, I think that that's like the first word that comes to mind when it comes to coming out of a breakup. I know, at least for myself, ironically enough, my longest relationship was also 5 years. And for about 2 years after that, for some reason, I could not get in my car or hear music without just uncontrollably sobbing. I didn't even have to necessarily be sad or thinking about the breakup or the relationship or anything. It's just that for some reason, everything was so overwhelming and I had no control over it. And it could happen whether every feeling I was having was feeling 100% and super overwhelming, or it was happening when I was completely numb, but for some reason that stream of tears just kept going. But I can safely say now that I look back on my relationship, and even then I was able to, but now I really just look back on my relationship and I have nothing but gratitude and empathy for the situation, but just gratitude for everything I got from that relationship. I got to feel loved for 5 years of my life, which at that point was a quarter of my life, which is another thing. I couldn't really infer much from your profile how old you might be, but if you're around my age, chances are you probably spent a quarter of your life with this person. And if that's the case, you probably became an adult with this person. So now you're having to discover life as an adult on your own and find dependence at the same time, which can seem really scary, but it's actually a really exciting and beautiful thing if you're able to start rewiring your brain in that regard. But like I said, for myself, I'm able to look back on that relationship with nothing but gratitude and empathy for the situation. I'm so grateful I had someone to become an adult with. I got to learn so much through that person and their family. I'm so grateful for them and their family. So grateful to have felt loved for 5 years. So grateful for the memories we made together, the friendships that I got to make through that person. Like, if you're able to shift your brain into a place of not wanting to erase it and being grateful for the things that you did have and that you were able to appreciate, every day is going to start feeling a little bit lighter, and you deserve to have some of your brain space back. Like, even if it's just that you can leave that relationship knowing that you learned lessons on what you want to take into your future, what you want in your next relationship, etc. But for now, all you've got to do is focus on looking after yourself, getting through every day, and finding the little things that make getting through every day a little bit easier, working towards a healthier, happier future where you've got more of your brain space freed up to occupy with the things you want to occupy with. I did do a video on rewiring your brain if you want to check that out, but sometimes when it comes to healing, you have to literally fake your way out of the rut. So when it comes to this sort of thing with the breakup, even if you can't think of things that you're really grateful for initially, fake it out of there. Start telling yourself you're grateful for the good memories, you're grateful for the things you learned, you're grateful to have felt loved for 5 years or to have been able to love someone else for 5 years. Whatever it may be, you got to start faking it till you make it if it's not something you're able to actually feel just yet. Another thing about this, which we're obviously going to get to in a little bit, but it's so easy for these things to lead to self-isolation. And self-isolation is something that just grows and grows and grows, and you get deeper and deeper into the rut of it, to the point eventually you can lose what it's like to be a human being, which we'll get into soon. But what I always say when it comes to grief and when it comes to breakups is you have to allow yourself to feel the feels, but you're not allowed to let yourself rot in them. And what I mean by that is, when it comes to healing from anything, there is no rule book or timeline to how you do it. It's about finding the little things that make every day a little bit easier. But when it comes to rotting in your feelings, you have to set yourself a little timeline. Like, in 2 weeks' time, I'm forcing myself out of the house, even if it's to go and cry in a different location, my dude. I know for me, in the beginning of trying to heal and rewire my brain, I was literally just forcing myself to get in the car and drive to the beach to cry at the beach. So sorry about that, my pump is being an attention whore. Anywhoosie, like I said, even if it's just taking yourself to a different location to cry, it's about forcing yourself to do the little things that feel somewhat achievable and manageable, that you know at some point brought you some sense of comfort or joy. Even if that's just going to force yourself to go to your favourite little coffee shop and getting a coffee. That's your task done for the day. You've done the damn thing, you're putting in the work. Like, start with the small things that feel somewhat achievable and manageable and keep working your way through it. Fake your way through it. Tell yourself it's getting easier. Tell yourself you deserve to get out of the house. Tell yourself you deserve to not rot in your emotion and that you're putting in the work to do that. You can't control the situation. You can't control anything about what's happening other than the fact that you won't let yourself rot in the breakup. And there's so much out there for you to experience as your own person now, which is really exciting. So you got to start telling yourself that that's exciting. I don't want to say sorry for your breakup because, like I said, I think you should start rewiring your brain to being excited for what's going to come out of this breakup. And hopefully you get to meet some amazing new people to make some amazing new memories with. But start small, do whatever you can. I'm really proud of you, and I hope that one day you get to come back and tell us of all the amazing memories you've made since this. But you've got this forehead kiss just for you. I hope this year is one of the best years for you yet, and I hope it's full of discovering so much about yourself and what you want in this life, and I hope you can start finding those things soon. Okay, so this second one is also about a breakup. This was sent in through the Instagram. This one just says, how do you deal with a breakup? We keep getting back together, but I don't know how long we can keep doing this. It's been almost 2 years of on and off after the first 3 months of being together. What would you do? Okay, so obviously I don't know what your relationship looks like, but when you're in a relationship where you keep going in and out and in and out, it's not necessarily that there's no love there. Sometimes it's that there is so much love there, but it's just not working. And if you're constantly breaking up with someone and getting back together and breaking up and getting back together, neither of you are getting the chance to evolve and grow as individuals or as a couple. So your relationship's not getting any better, but neither are you as people. And if you're starting to form this almost toxic bond of breaking up, getting back together, breaking up, getting back together, one, you're leaving the relationship each time with the mindset, or at least subconsciously thinking that, hey, it's alright, we're going to get back together eventually anyway. Or you start to build a resentment towards each other, which means when you are in the relationship side of it, that love and that connection isn't the type of love and connection that you both deserve to be feeling, giving and receiving. Sometimes when you've got that kind of relationship or bond with someone, you need to be able to give each other the space to go and grow and evolve and heal from whatever you need to heal from as individuals. And that doesn't mean it has to be a forever thing. You might come back to each other a little later down the line when you have managed to find this growth and independence and whatnot. And sometimes that break in between is going to grow your love for each other even more. You'll grow appreciation for what you have as a couple or for that person as an individual. You need to give each other the chance to grow and heal and actually figure out what you do and don't want in this life, and what you like independently as your own people, as well as grow an appreciation for the relationship that you want in the future, whether that's with each other or not with each other. It doesn't have to be a forever thing, but I think that giving each other enough space in order to flourish as your own person and grow an appreciation for the relationship and the other person is probably the best point forward. Because like I said, this constant in and out, one, can build resentment, but two, it's hindering you from experiencing anything as individuals or as an actual couple. And there's so much for you out there to experience. Like, doesn't necessarily mean getting in relationships with other people, but there's all sorts of friendships and relationships out there for you to still find, and experiences for you to have, and memories for you to make. And sometimes you have to let each other go a little bit in order to be able to do those things instead of holding each other back, even if that's not something you realize you're doing. It's definitely not an easy one to be dealing with, but you both deserve a lot better than what's happening now, and it is out there. It doesn't necessarily have to be with other people. There's so much for you to do on your own, and I really hope that you're able to find all of those things. I'm proud of you. I hope that everything works out smoothly, and I hope this year is full of so many good memories and people for you as well. And hopefully you get to discover a lot of cool things about yourself and what you want in your future. Forehead kiss for you as well, my dear. I hope it all works out, and feel free to come give us an update in the future if you'd like to. Okay, so our last one is about grief, so if that's something that might have a negative impact on you, I can put a timestamp on the screen for when we've moved on to talking about self-isolation. If not, that is so fine. I hope you find another video that's a bit more comfortable for you to watch today, and hopefully we can yap again soon. But look after yourself and have a good day. We're going to get into this one now. Okay, so this one says how to deal with grief. I lost my dad about 6 months after losing a good friend, and now I don't want to meet anyone new because I don't want to risk dealing with their death as well. What would you do? And this one's going to lead us to the topic of self-isolation, but first things first, I am so sorry you're going through all of that. I know I mentioned before focusing on the feeling of what you've lost and what you feel like you're going to miss out on for the rest of your life, and not being able to appreciate the things you did have while they were here, and that goes for grief as well. I think that's one of the biggest things that can help you heal with grief. You need to be able to look back on that person and appreciate all the amazing memories and times you did have with them, and allow yourself to take those things into the future. And there's so many different ways of doing that. I know that another person in our little community over on TikTok is also dealing with a lot of grief at the moment. And one of the things he's managed to do since losing his father is he's found different records and albums and things that he knows that his father once loved. And he's grown an appreciation for those things and is able to take the memory of his father into the future. And now he loves the things that his father loved, and he's able to tell other people about that and let his father's legacy live on. I would love to hear about your friend and your father and all the amazing things you got to experience with both of them and the type of people they were. I'm sure they were incredible, and there's obviously a lot of love surrounding both of them. But losing someone isn't a good enough reason for you to lose the rest of your future as well. And self-isolation will hold you back from having so many experiences that you deserve to have. I completely understand the fear of having to ever feel these feelings again and go through them, but if you're able to shift that to a fear of feeling this way for the rest of your life and holding yourself back, and shift your focus to trying to carry their legacy into your future and tell people about them and bring their memories with you, hopefully every day starts getting a little bit easier and lighter for you. You deserve to keep living your life, and you deserve to not hold yourself back from experiencing so many things and so much love from other people. Grief is such a hard one to deal with, and rewiring your brain surrounding grief can be really hard, but it's not impossible. And if you can rewire it into a way of being so grateful for the memories you did make and trying to find the physical things that allow you to bring them into your future, things are going to start feeling a lot lighter soon. And it's not that you're forgetting them in any way or you're moving on in any way, but you are allowed to heal, and you are allowed to find what makes every day a little bit easier for you. And for everyone, that's going to be different. It might be going to your favorite spot that you went to with them, or somewhere you made a memory with them and literally sitting and talking to them, or journaling, or creating something physical with the things that they and you once loved. Again, you've got to remind yourself there's no rule book or timeline to any of this stuff, but you've got to also remind yourself you're not allowed to rot in your grief. And when you rot in your grief, it leads to self-isolation, which we'll get into in a second. But just like with the breakup, you have to start forcing yourself to do the small things that feel somewhat achievable, even if you're not necessarily doing it with other people in the beginning. Like, I know you said you don't want to meet anyone new because you don't want to risk having to feel these feelings again or them passing. So if that's something that's a bit too hard to deal with at the moment, start forcing yourself out and rewiring your brain on your own, and eventually you can start pushing yourself to meeting other people or inviting the people that are already in your life back in a little bit closer. But you you deserve to keep making memories, and you deserve to be able to take their memory into the future with you and allow their legacy to live on. I know I would love to hear about the type of people they were, and I'm sure there are so many other people out there that would love to hear about these people and the memories you got to make with them. Try your best just to get through every day. I'm proud of you. You obviously can't control anything about the situation. You can only control how much you allow yourself to rot in it. And like I said, set yourself that timeline and force yourself to do something small and achievable that at some point brought you some sense of comfort or joy, and just start knocking out those little exposure therapies and really forcing yourself into trying to heal. You can do it. I know with these feelings it feels like it's never going to go away and it's always going to be this heavy, and you almost lose any motivation to try and change it, but you can do it. I believe in you. I'm really sorry you've gone through this, but I'm so freaking proud of you, and I hope that every day starts getting a little bit easier ASAP. Look after yourself, and feel free to tell me about these people, whether you send me a message or whatever. I would love to hear about the type of people they were, the memories you got to make, the lessons they taught you, whatever it may be. Take it easy, keep getting through every day. I'm really proud of you, and you will get through this. Forehead kiss for you, my darling. Alright, now we're going to get to the topic of self-isolation, which is something that breakups and grief can both lead into. So, like I said before, I'm still borrowing my sister's camera and don't have the equipment to film or edit with, so we are on a bit of a time limit, but I'm going to try and talk about this as much as possible. There's a lot that I'm not going to be able to get too in detail about because either it deserves its own episode or I'm trying to get enough information out as possible into this video. But if you have any questions, anything like that, feel free to comment it or swing me a message, and we'll keep adding to the next videos, and hopefully eventually I have the equipment to do a lot more long form things. But let's get into the self-isolation talk. So like I mentioned before, self-isolation can be caused by so many things, whether it's grief, breakups, whatever it may be, but it can so easily lead to agoraphobia as well. At least in my experience, self-isolation has almost always come from the feeling of not wanting to have a negative impact on other people's lives, but having my brain hardwired into thinking that just by knowing me, it's inevitable that I'm going to have a negative impact on your life. And for me personally, it's come from a lot of different things over the years, but I know at least for myself, self-isolation impacted my life so much that somewhere along the way, I stopped being a human being. I lost all sense of normalcy, any sense of routine, self-care, all things that I already didn't have a great grasp of due to my upbringing and all sorts of other things, but somewhere along the way I stopped trying to teach myself those things, and now as an adult I'm literally having to teach myself basic self-care. And that's another thing I can look back at my 5-year relationship with gratitude for. I got to learn so many different things about what was normal and what wasn't, and that's all the way down to the fact I would wear jeans, my bra, everything to bed because I didn't have a grasp of the fact that you're not meant to do that. And now it's to the point where I'm trying to get my skin used to moisturizer. My skin is freaking out because I'm finally trying to put a moisturizer on it. And it's just that unfamiliar with self-care that it is freaking out. So let's talk about it. With my self-isolation, I allowed myself to rot in my mental illnesses and my chronic illnesses and my beliefs that I was going to have a negative impact on absolutely everyone's life if they just interacted with me. I also let this go on for so long that I developed fears surrounding leaving the house and having those interactions. Whether it was because I was worried I was having a negative impact on them, or it was because my anxiety or whatever it may have been was so unaccustomed to doing basic human things that my body and my brain would just go into a spiral, and that would push me further into the self-isolation and agoraphobia. And I'm going to give you a quick summary of how we got to that position of having those things, but I obviously don't have time to get all the way into detail about a lot of it. So again, a lot of these things will have their own episode coming up, but also if you have any questions, please feel free to swing me a message or comment, and I can either reply or try and incorporate it in an upcoming video. But basically I got to the point where I was literally looking at the clock constantly throughout the day as if I was working a shift, but I was literally doing nothing, and all I wanted was the day to hurry up and be over. And it wasn't even that I was getting sleep at the end of the day. I got crippling insomnia and PTSD and things that stopped me from getting sleep, but for some reason nighttime felt slightly safer and gave me so much less guilt about not being able to physically get myself to do anything. And that's one of the misconceptions about self-isolation. I think people think that you don't want to do anything and that's why you're not doing anything, but at least for myself, especially when you've got things like ADHD and whatnot that make your brain so loud, I hated the fact that I was isolating myself. I hated that I was doing nothing. My brain would be screaming at me to be doing other things, and I would want to do other things a lot of the time, but I physically just couldn't do it. It's like executive dysfunction and self-isolation and suicidal ideation just make this big mess of such a negative, toxic brain that is so loud, and a body that refuses to cooperate. So like I said, it got to the point where I was checking the clock constantly, just waiting for the day to hurry up and be over. And it wasn't even that I felt safe at night time, but at least I didn't have as much guilt surrounding the fact that I was unable to get myself to do anything. Now, the reason I developed these things, strap in, I'm going to try and give enough of a summary that you understand, but there is so much more to be said about all of this. I had mental illnesses from a very young age. I now know that. Obviously wasn't diagnosed with most of them as a kid, but as a teenager I was literally collecting mental illnesses like they were freaking Pokemon, and then as an adult chronic illnesses. But with the mental illnesses, I held so much shame surrounding the amount of them that I was getting diagnosed with, the ones I was being diagnosed with, because there is so much misstereotyping and misunderstanding and stigma surrounding a lot of them, that I almost felt too ashamed to admit that I was struggling with any of them, and I felt like they were going to be my identity. And for a long time I did feel like they were my identity, but now I'm able to look back at any diagnosis I've had over the years, whether it's mental illness or chronic illness, and I kind of just look at them as letters of the alphabet that help describe my brain or describe my body and help point me into the right direction of what might make every day a little bit easier for me specifically. But that shame that I had surrounding those mental illnesses added to the thought of just knowing me is going to have a negative impact on you. And I also thought if anyone knew about those diagnoses, they were going to be perceiving me in a certain way. And I always had a fear of being perceived. I've always thought I'm being perceived way more than I actually am, and I see it all the time in society now. A lot of people don't even realize it, but our society is kind of built around caring so much more about what other people think about you rather than what you think about yourself and how you feel. And so those sort of mindsets kind of allowed me to sit in my fear of not wanting to have a negative impact on anyone else's life and thinking it was inevitable by knowing me. Now, on top of that, just before it got to the worst it ever did, I was in and out of hospitals for a long time, but I ended up being held against my will in a hospital for 9 months, where I endured 9 months of medical mistreatment and gained so much trauma. But at the 8-month point of that 9-month admission is when my 5-year relationship ended, and it ended over the phone while I was in the hospital, and he did the right thing for himself. I can't stress that enough. No one was able to get me out of the care of this doctor. Everyone was watching me get more and more unwell and not able to stop it. Why am I tearing up? What the hell? Sorry, but what the heck? Hello? That 9 months felt like literal torture, and it did such an impact on both my body and my brain. What is happening? I swear I have not cried over any of this stuff in the longest time. So throughout that 9 months, I was going through a whole heap of medical mistreatment. I gained even more PTSD and whatnot while I was in there, but no one could get me out of the care of this one specific psychiatrist. But it got to the 8-month point of that admission, and my ex, he did the right thing for himself. It was having such a negative impact on his life, and over the phone we broke up, whatever. But also, something happens when you're in a confined space for a long period of time, or you're stuck in a routine of something like this. So it happens if you're in a hospital setting, a psych ward, prison, military. This is something I haven't really heard anyone talk about before, and we're bringing back the word overwhelming. But when you finally get out of an environment like that, because you've spent such a long period of time only seeing the same things, hearing the same sounds, smelling the same smells, tasting the same things, seeing the same people, like, it makes everything so unbelievably overwhelming when you get out. And that's everything, all the way down to the sounds you're hearing, traffic on the streets, people talking, being in a shop where there's so many other humans, your taste buds needing to be retrained. Like, there is so much that your brain gets used to not having to deal with, that everything becomes sensory overload when you get out. And that also makes it really easy to slip into becoming agoraphobic, especially if you already struggle with anxiety. So it was kind of a mixture of the whole not wanting to have a negative impact on other people, developing kind of agoraphobia just from being in that setting for such a long time, having my mental health and my physical health decline so much, and just being convinced that just interacting with me is going to have a really negative impact on other people's lives. Even the people that were already in my life, I had started pushing back long before I finally got out of that hospital, because I was convinced that I was going to die in there. When I use the word torture, I don't mean it lightly. What the hell? Okay, I have a lot of PTSD, so I think my body's just kind of getting overwhelmed. I'm completely fine, please do not stress, but that 9-month admission was literal torture and no one could get me out of her care. But I was so convinced that I was going to die in that hospital, whether it was from her treatment or because I physically couldn't. Get your shit together, bro. Oh my god. Sorry. Anyway, I was so convinced that I was going to die in there, whether it was from her treatment or because I physically couldn't take it anymore. But especially after the breakup and stuff, I ended up in such a conflicting mindset, because it was like, I for the longest time thought this world would be such a better place without me here, and it was going to make everyone else's life so much easier if I just removed myself from the situations. But then after the breakup and stuff, the idea of certain people ever blaming.
Get your shit together! Get it all together and put it in a backpack. All your shit, so it's together.
The idea of certain people ever blaming themselves absolutely ruined me, because I knew it was a me issue. Any of my mental illnesses have always been very pointed towards myself. Like, anything I've done that was harmful was always harmful to me, etc. So even though I mentally knew that, like, if I had done something like that, it was not anyone else's fault, and I genuinely just thought it was going to make everyone else's life easier, the idea of other people blaming themselves just absolutely ruined me, and I didn't know what to do. So I isolated even further, just in case I died from either her treatment or I physically just couldn't do it anymore. And I don't know how else to explain it other than like being dead convinced that it was just going to make everyone else's life so much better and no one was going to have to worry about me anymore. So that kind of led to even further self-isolating, and then you have the agoraphobia and stuff that makes breaking that even harder. And like I said earlier, when you've got certain other mental illnesses that make your brain so loud, and you've got a million thoughts screaming at you all at once, but all of those thoughts are so extremely negative, every day just becomes a hell, because you're screaming at yourself that you don't want to be like this anymore, but you can't physically get yourself to do it. You're constantly watching the clock to try and get the day to hurry up and end, just so that it feels like the rest of the world finally goes to bed and you don't have to feel as guilty over the fact that you're not able to get yourself to do absolutely fucking anything. Plus the fact that all of a sudden you have all these extra medical issues. I was already struggling a lot medically before this, and I had a lot of issues that we weren't quite sure what was what. But after all the medical mistreatment, had either worsened or developed chronic illnesses along the way that led me to no longer being able to get any adequate nutrition. I couldn't keep anything in my stomach, and it started a fight then from there for years of me having to scream for help just to try and get any nutrition, after literally about 20 years of depriving my body of that. So all of a sudden was this really weird dichotomy of like no motivation to be alive, but this guilt complex, and it being so much easier to just sit in the mental illnesses and rot in them because I didn't know what life looked like without being mentally ill. Plus trying to scream for help because you know that inevitably you need nutrition, and if something was to happen to you, you didn't want other people blaming themselves. But anyway, all of this stuff and a lot more, like I said, there's so much more to be said about all this, but some of it deserves its own episode, and some of it I just don't have time to get into too much right now. I just ended up with so much happening in my life that seems so negative, and that's where it just allows that mindset of anyone having to interact with me or know me or anything was inevitably going to have a negative impact on them, and that was such a fear of mine that I hid myself away and allowed myself to rot in my mental illnesses and my chronic illnesses and my belief that I was going to have a negative impact on the world and on anyone that had the displeasure of having to interact with me. And I can safely say now I've come such a long way with every aspect of what we've spoken about so far. Like, That's the thing when you've been mentally ill your whole life, or you've had things for a very long time, you don't know what a normal brain is like, and you just assume everyone's is like yours, or you just assume that that's not something that's possible for you. But it literally wasn't until I got to 23 years old, I have it on video when I had this realization, that I finally started getting just little glimpses of what happiness felt like. And I couldn't figure out what the feeling was until it happened like a third time. And like I said, they're just tiny glimpses. But getting those tiny glimpses gave me the motivation to keep freaking going in the ways I was going on my own, by the way. Like, obviously a lot of the PTSD I developed and endured over that 9-month period really pushed me away from having any medical help and psychiatric help. And after years and years of being stuck in that kind of environment and feeling like I was just on the rotation station over there and literally a revolving door patient, I was able to step aside eventually and start doing all the work on my own and starting to actually heal. And these tiny little glimpses of happiness gave me such a sick motivation to keep freaking going, and allowed me to actually know and realize that like happiness is an actual feeling people have. They don't just lie about it because it's trendy, which now is absolutely bonkers to say out loud. Like, what? But like I said, I've come a long way with a lot of that stuff, and I did do a video on how to rewire your brain, again another short one, but that kind of explains how I managed to do a lot of that. And the thing about self-isolation is you don't even have to necessarily start with doing things with other people. You just need to start doing things on your own and pushing yourself out of those comfort zones. So like with the breakups and the grief, you want to find the little things that make every day a little bit easier and push yourself to do the little things that at some point you know brought you some form of comfort or joy or whatever it may be. Like I said, whether that's going to sit at the beach and cry instead of in your bed, like literally anything, you just have to start somewhere and you have to start faking your way out of it. And eventually, hopefully, you can start doing things with other people and inviting them in your life after you are able to start rewiring those thoughts in your brain and stuff, as well as starting to do exposure therapies and heal from things like anxiety and agoraphobia and whatnot. But just know, if you're going through anything that we've spoken about today, I understand how heavy those feelings are and how it feels like there is no other way for your brain to be or your life to look or whatever it may be. Just know that's not true. Your life can get better, it can get easier. You deserve to have more of your energy and your brain space going towards things that actually make you feel comfortable and happy and like this life is worth living, and it is. There is so much out there for you to experience. There are so many people out there that deserve the privilege of knowing you, and vice versa. And there are so many memories out there for you to make, and I can't wait for you guys to be able to start making them, and I can't wait to hear about more of them. Like our little community we've got growing on TikTok, it has been so amazing to get to see you guys evolve in different ways in your life. So many people over the last year got a job or had job interviews. We had people graduating college and uni and school. We had people that went out on dates for the first time in years. We had so many different things that you guys were doing, that you were accomplishing, and I'm so proud of you guys, and I'm so grateful to have been able to like watch you guys grow as humans and find the little things that make you enjoy every day. I'm so sorry I got slightly teary in this. I genuinely didn't think that would happen, so I'm sorry. But just know that everything can and everything will get better, and sometimes you just gotta fake your way out of that rut, no matter how big that rut feels. Might feel like you're down in the bottom of a damn sinkhole, but you will get out of there. You gotta claw your way out sometimes, but you will get out of there. You just gotta start somewhere, and if that's with faking it, it's with faking it. I can't wait to keep getting to know you guys and watching you all grow. I have massive goals for myself, all to do with helping people in such fun and cool ways, and obviously we are nowhere near achieving them just yet, but hopefully this year I'm able to start helping you guys in a lot of cool, fun ways and just giving back to you guys in a lot of different ways. We are almost out of time, but hopefully at the end of this I'm able to attach a little manifestation station segment, and I'll just explain what my goals are for myself. But for now, we're going to hit a manifestation station for you guys. This year is going to be the best year for you yet. You're all going to grow mentally and find the people that make every day more enjoyable for you. You're going to start treating yourself so much kinder, and by the end of the year you're all going to find confidence, you're all going to find happiness, and you're all going to be proud of yourself for pushing through every single day like I'm proud of you. We don't have time for our What's Poppin' segment, but if you guys ever have any topics you want us to open a conversation about, whether it's for the What's Poppin' or the What Would You Do segment, or if you have any advice, dilemmas, predicaments, anything you want us to open a conversation about, feel free to send either a voice note or a message over to my Instagram, and hopefully we can incorporate it in a video very soon. Hopefully the videos can be a little longer soon too, but I'm either attaching a video to the end of this with my goals for myself that all involve you guys, and hopefully you guys will reap the benefits of very soon. And if it's not there, just know I tried. This is literally my third attempt at filming this video purely because of technical difficulties. So my god, do I hope that you guys actually get to see this one. Again, so sorry that that got a little emo in the middle. We're all groovy, please don't be concerned. But I hope that this year has started off so strong for all of you guys and that the rest of your day is just as amazing as you are. But as for now, look after yourselves, forehead kisses all around. Thanks for yapping, and we will yap again very soon. Bye! Hello sharks, and welcome to my pitch. Today I'll be pitching myself to you. Now, I have big goals for myself, but because I'm not already a millionaire, I'm gonna have to do them in levels or layers. So I thought I'd lay it all out for you so you know what you guys are actually following along for, and hopefully with each layer of success I'm able to move on and start doing the next thing, which all just keeps getting bigger and better, and they're all to do with helping people in some really cool and fun ways. So I thought I'd lay it out so you know what you're following along for, and hopefully we'll reap the benefits of very soon. But let's start with level 1. Social media. We're starting with TikTok, and with TikTok I want to continue my series of rediscover life and getting hotter as I heal, and as I learn to look after myself and actually live and experience things, I want to be able to do bigger and better giveaways for you guys of anything that I find that helps me do so. But so far the giveaways have just been small things like electric toothbrushes and jewelry, etc. But in order to enter, all you ever have to do is comment something you think everyone should try at least once in their life, whether that's a product, an adventure, an experience, etc., whatever it is, so that as I go through that list and find all the things that help me rediscover life or look after myself, I want to be able to keep giving those things away to you guys. And that ranges from all sorts of things like getting out of the same 5 outfits I've worn for the last decade to paying for dental work, adventures, experiences, whatever it may be. I also do little live streams throughout the day and night where I just check in on all my homie slices around the world and tell people not to gift or tap, we're just there to yap and give people a space to distract themselves or talk if they need that space, and I'll always keep doing those. For my YouTube, I want my videos to turn into a podcast where eventually I can interview people ranging from non-famous to famous and have people on to share their stories and also give their advice or opinions in our What Would You Do segments or our What's Poppin' segments, and just give them a space or a platform to tell their story or bring topics they want us to open a conversation or discussion about, just like when I ask you guys what you want us to talk about. And then hopefully through working with brands, etc. Please, if any are listening and you want to do a cheeky brand deal or a collab, literally I will print your company name or logo on my cheek tape. But hopefully I can start working with brands and giving away to you guys even more, and then eventually that will allow me to start doing layer 2, which starts with an app. Now this app links into my podcast but also opens a whole new layer of content creation and a way of people getting help around the world. I just know that people are going to love this app. I'll also be able to do full vlogs or episodes of the TikTok series of me rediscovering life, especially when it gets to exciting things like going for my first massage and paying for one of you guys to do so, or going on adventures, etc. All the fun big things I'll be able to do giveaways of, alongside helping people get the treatment and everything they need. Layer 2 also includes me releasing merch that eventually can evolve into a comfort clothing brand that has products that are chronic illness / disability hospital friendly, like big comfy hoodies with easy access to certain things like IV lines, medical ports, etc. I also want to release a certain little scented thing. Now this has multiple massive markets that are full of people that I know would be obsessed with these products and would help them in so many different ways. I just know that these would be so loved. And then with all of that, that will lead me into being able to start my own organization / camp / pay for all different types of treatment people need and offer an alternative method of treatment, and also go into hospitals and treatment centers and allow them to update their treatment methods, to which eventually I'd like to open up my own treatment facilities and services for people, and a lot of this will offer different career paths for a lot of different people as well, alongside helping so many different people struggling with all sorts of different things in lots of cool and fun different ways. And then once that's more established, I'll be turning my story into either a movie or a series and a book. And just like with all these, I have such a specific vision for them. Like the merch I've already had designed for months and months, but when I turn my story into a book and a movie or a series, I can see it so specifically that, let's say it's a movie, depending on the success I have with helping people and shining light on different situations, I would probably
probably start at the ages of 17 to 22, and then I could do a prequel and a sequel depending on how successful that is. And then in the end, it's all one big machine that helps keep itself running and helping people all over the world in many different ways. And of course I have some little passion projects I'd love to do on the side, like collaborating with certain brands and releasing specific ranges of things, like a range of chewing gums that I've wanted since I was a kid. I'd love to act in a few different things along the way, do it at a few different interview things. I'd love to release some of my songs, but my priorities are the ones that are going to directly help people. So a lot of those are just random little passion projects. But as you can see, I've got some massive goals for myself. So if you have any advice in any of these areas, please let a diva know. I am willing to hear any advice anyone has. Manifestation Station, we are doing this, and I just thought I'd let you know what you're following along for. And if anyone wants to work together, please hit me up. I am in so much debt and keep ending up in more and more debt because of my medical issues, but also need so much dental work, and I have so many goals for myself but seem to just be getting pushed further and further back. So if anyone has any advice or anything for these, please let me know. I will appreciate anything, but I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you for watching my pitch. Obviously I have some massive goals for myself, but we're gonna do it. It's the Manifestation Station for a reason. Nah, but thank you for watching. If you have any advice or suggestions, please let me know. I am all ears, and hopefully you guys start reaping the benefits of all this stuff soon. But thanks for following along. Forehead kisses all around. Look after yourselves, and we will yap again very soon. Bye!